Good evening and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where, as you can see, I'm live. And despite having wrestled with an enormous great shredder, which I've still got to use, which is over here, and having a new fan over here, I'm still going. Most importantly, I've got some better glasses for modelling. So I ought to be able to see what I'm doing. These, by the way, are X4 times. I did leave this sticker on the lenses. And this is another one because I got 3 of them. However, I discovered that even with my iffy eye, they still caught my attention and were distracting, so they went. But this will magnify that it all flipped down 16 times, so I should see in great detail. The focal length is obviously shorter. It always is. What I'm going to do, now I've got the magnification, is I'm going to go and have a good look at these goblins I did a while ago and actually clean them up. Probably do with a smaller knife, but all my smaller knives appear to have disappeared into the junk room that is currently the workshop. I need to fire up the shredder in due course and see if I'll actually shred the receipt books that I bought it to shred. It should do, because it's apparently capable of shredding over 200 sheets of paper at the same time. Not greatly read the instruction manual, and it's less impressive than you think it would be because it's one of those multilingual ones. That covers multiple models. I think this is a P4 cut. It's not that I need to destroy everything because the whole stuff I'm shredding is going to be burnt afterwards. It's just that I need to destroy it enough that I can actually leave it to be burnt. But that's the thing I've got. And mine is a 250X. So it's theoretically capable of 250 sheets of standard paper. So one would hope, he says, fighting that these ancient receipt books with customer information from years ago and my previous business should be destroyable. Anyway, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing my usual trick with milliput on the base. So I'm going to clean them up and do them. Usual 2-part putty trick, in which I mix an awful lot too much. It's very heavy, it's very hot in the workshop still, so I shan't be doing much work down there until I'm back from the till the heat goes away a lot more. However, I'm getting back on the painting and modelling thing, or at least the modelling thing. I do have some placer here, but it's very much like the whole workshop, a work in progress. I've also got to find homes for the lighting, and there is a printer that will be arriving at some point in the corner. We'll be going behind this filing cabinet here, and there's also storage to go under the camera table and the camera table to be built. The camera table is currently covered in bits and pieces of stuff, and I'm probably going to have to ask young Wade to come around and have a think. I have bits and pieces of MDF to make it out of, but I'd like to replace that, the little setup I've got downstairs, with something more permanent. So I can actually start photographing things again. This, by the way, is my usual trick. This is an Oathmark Orc warrior, just the ordinary orc infantry, and he will be done up as a hobgoblin. And I have some shields on order from Sprue Shop. And the Sprue Shop people, these are the Wargames Atlantic round Dark Age style shields, which is what I'm going to be using. Because I think having regular similar shields will make them look more orky. Again, with plastic glue, especially with plastic gluing in hot weather, you get lots of stringy, because I use the Army Painter style stuff. I could do with an Army Painter order. As I said before, I'm not doing commission, but I would like to be able to get armies painted for eBay, for Etsy, and that sort of thing. As I say, I've got 30 of these. To do, and I have another 32, because the rule system that I'm intending to use, and principally for, is a homebrew Two Fat Lollies style game, where infantry groups are 8, so 64 is 8 infantry groups, and that will be the core of my hobgoblin infantry. There will be some hobgoblin cavalry to go with that, and some goblin skirmishers, and possibly goblin infantry. I'm not so sure about that. So I'm just pulling these over out the way, as I will be doing these and just checking them over. Prior to this, the glasses I had, and I was using the 3x as opposed to 4, and it's easier to see what's going on, especially when I can flip them down and get 16 times rather than 9 or 10 times, which is what the 3 and 3.5 magnifiers gave me. Since magnification is multiplicatory, got to actually get used to working around about here, because the focal length will be very short when it gets to the full magnification. But having the ability to flip in and out is really useful. As I say, these will be the army of Gavaz Asnil, and I have plans for people for them to fight. My World War I troops for Forgotten Ruin, and possibly others, as I rather like the idea of sci-fi fantasy crossovers or historical fantasy crossovers. And of course, they can also fight various Baron's War style medieval humans. So there's lots of stuff I want to do, but I need to sort camera situation out, because I'm down to the main camera, which is this one, and I probably need a GoPro or something, as I think I've broken my little adventure cam. I need something I can actually do a proper rigid head mount with, rather than improvise it. Now, I might have enough money to do that sort of thing. We'll see how it goes. But again, these will go into war bases 2p. These will go into war bases 2p movement trays. For the purposes of them actually being used. I might go over these and do a little bit of green stuff fur around the neck, and to cover any sort of little bits where the arms haven't quite lined up as one would like. How are we doing? Not seen anybody in the chat yet, but I know a lot of you watch afterwards and seem to think this is enjoyable. Well, it's getting more enjoyable now. I don't actually have to apologise continually about mental health issues and not actually achieving anything. I think I'll just let that one go off and I will finish him later. Because the star of the show is going to be the World War I troops, which I might be doing tonight, or I might do another show possibly, or I might save till next week, because they're just basically sticking on the backpack, the packs and belt gear. Again, usual with Milliput, 50-50, mix it until it goes a little warm in your hand, because the actual reaction is exothermic. See, I still remember a tiny, tiny, tiny little amount of my chemistry. From the last millennium. Try this one. It's very, very, very soft. This stuff can get a little bit sticky to yourself. And ideally, you'd have a little bit of water to help smooth it, because the water stops it sticking to you, and it also, in fact, it would help if I clean the figures up first. This knife is quite blunt, which makes it ideal for scraping, but less ideal for cutting. But that said, these aren't terribly flashed, and if you use a knife to cut them off the sprue rather than clippers, you don't get quite so much little bits sticking out. But again, the little bits of sprue are easier to scrape off once they're assembled. I mean, this one's a classic one of needing a little bit. The arm hasn't quite aligned, so I will probably do a little bit of filling with green stuff and maybe add a bit of fur, because again, it adds a little barbarity to the whole thing. Could also do with a few plumes and stuff for officers. Just to add a little bit more character. The officers for this group of 64 and the standard bearer that goes with them will be made out of the stuff that's currently on order from the sprue shop, who I highly recommend. As a supplier. He's perhaps not as quick on the turnaround as certain people, but his prices are good, and if you're not in a tearing rush, and I'm not in a tearing rush because mostly I'm into getting, back into the saddle and making stuff, and to be able to pump out little armies I can sell on Etsy. Etsy's gone on a little bit on the back burner and hasn't been producing many sales recently, mostly because I've got the wrong sort of products up there. My postage is based on being a sign for tracked and signed sort of thing, and when you're dealing with the minimum VAT being around about a tenner, an £8 model really doesn't justify it. So if I'm doing hundreds of pounds worth of armies, like 30 or 40, and I like the Earthmark stuff there, fun to assemble. They're fun to assemble, you can do a lot with them. They're not hideously overcomplicated. In fact, they're not actually really that much of a modelling challenge. They fit this is a perfect playing piece. Now I do have, if I can actually ever get over there, a Citadel Dwarf starter army sitting with young Mr. John Martin. And if you want me to hear me swearing on and not having a chill time, it's Assembling Anything by Citadel, because they have jumped the barrel on the whole this is meant to be a playing piece long since, and should be reminded of that. There are multiple hobbies involved in wargaming, but scale modelling is seldom one of them. And I gather a lot of their stuff gets made and painted as display pieces, which is a pity, as they're meant to be played with. Not a massive fan of the various things they've done to the rule sets over the years, but it's still a game you can play, and the pieces for it should be again, this is another one that probably needs a bit of attention, because the arm slipped. I don't know if you can see that. I will be getting a better camera, by the way. The next upgrade after the shredder will be an actual desktop PC, which will go underneath here. May go underneath in the corner, I don't know yet. And I will be using a proper webcam rather than a built-in one like I'm using on the laptop. The laptop is likely to go down into the workshop when I've sorted out a place where it's capable of running, where I can put it when it's not going to get knocked off tables and things like that, as I can then do all my photo editing down there again, because it's a lot more convenient. And as I say, when it gets hot, it's certainly cooler in the workshop, and if I'm down in the workshop, I can have doors open and things like that, so that there is some airflow. The airflow in here is not as good as it could be, mostly because the curtain is stopping some of it. But I need the curtain because there's a lot of stock behind, well, there's a lot of figures behind me which are very much going to be damaged by the glare, by the sun beating in through the window. I might also consider getting some of that polarizing film and sticking it out to the inside of the window just to reduce that. And I need to do something about the windows downstairs as well, because especially at the front of the building, there are times of the day where you just can't actually see what you're doing. That was the problem I was having with the little setup I had in the bedroom, was I was getting so much glare through the window that you can't see what you're doing. And it was actually painful looking at the screen. I have got an additional lights in here. One of that thing behind me is one of them. But again, I will be potentially altering that and fiddling about with that as the light as I get the camera stuff set up, because it's the camera stuff that's going to set things up, going to determine how much light I actually need in here. An artificial light is easier, that is better for the sort of photographic work I'm likely to be doing than natural, because it goes very much from natural light here goes from very dim to extremely bright and often uncomfortably so. I do wish I hadn't changed this to cellophane quite so much. No, cellophane is a little bit more biodegradable, but the plastic was actually easy to get off without actual violence. And the putty didn't stick to it. So that might just be the ridiculous temperature everything's been. Anything over 20 in the UK is far too hot for me. My ideal operating temperature is about 15. And it's going to be rather hot in here, especially when I've got a desktop that's going to be your medium-end gaming machine, mostly for doing doing video editing on. But it's not going to wobble. We'll call this at half an hour, but I will probably be continuing doing this or listening to various other nonsense on the internet and other people chuntering away on YouTube. But as you can see, development is going on. There'll be a lot more of it to be seen next week. Hopefully, if I can get the desktop in shortly, I can actually take the webcam for a walk around. I might even do a photos around the office again, as I did in the past. I'm a bit discouraged by that, discouraged to do that at the moment, because all my photos were on Facebook, and Facebook is now having a big purge of old photos. They're all downloaded, but it disinclines one to upload more, because again, it's another step and more faffing. So I'm probably going to have to sort out my photo storage and backup at this end. It's all part of the jolly fun of being a small business and being dependent on large organisations that really don't cater. The other question I need to ask is, I'm probably going to have to put my prices up again. This is going to be less of an issue because I won't be in the commission work, but I have been told by people that I'm to charge, and whilst I don't want to overcharge things, these are meant to be played with and affordable, and the function of the business is to keep me from, needing to resort to state assistance, because state assistance is where your mental health goes to pot. And they have been the biggest contributor. The other place the mental health goes to pot is when people say, oh, get help, ask for help. And to be perfectly honest, you go, I need X, Y, and Z. And, oh no, we don't do that. We want you to do gardening. Well, why did I take 6 months waiting in hope, and the whole mental health spirals down from there? It's likely more expensive to do bespoke care, but if it works faster, it's then more efficient. But I think I'm probably going to accept the fact that there isn't any help and asking for it's a mistake. In my case, might not be in yours, it might be the best thing that ever happened to you. But it's not, unfortunately, in mine, but I'm a peculiar individual by all accounts. And it is what it is. I will also likely be doing gaming streams or computer gaming stuff as well, and gaming stuff on the table. But again, that requires the downstairs back table to be clearable so that I can invite people around and play games with them and film it. There's a very nice Spanish channel I follow who does a lot of that sort of thing, and I'd like to do that sort of thing myself with my own take on it, because I don't think I'll be doing what they're doing exactly, but it's a group of lads, a group of friends having good fun and putting it up on the internet for everybody else's amusement if they want to watch it. And that's also in the plan. Anyway, you have had 25 minutes of me waffling and putting putty around the bases of models and scraping bits of plastic off them with a blunt knife. I'm sure you have got better things to do with your life than that. So I'm going to call it there. I will go on, I will finish stuff, and I will see you again this time next week, which will almost certainly after I've had a lovely game with my wonderful friend Lana, and she won't have actually nearly murdered the party again. Every week we get a near total party kill, and I'm attached to my character and mildly traumatized by the possibility of them dying, which is what you wouldn't. Anyway, talk to everybody next week. Take care, everyone, and see you and all. I will be posting, so watch this space on that one, including pictures of the finished stuff from tonight. Bye now.